Mem Zayin. We're just on the bottom. Okay, Mem Zayin Amud Aleph, Beis Vei. We're still holding about Mekadosh B'Milveh. Rav says Mekadosh B'Milveh is Ein Mukadeshes. So the more original says it seems to be Tzemach Tanoim. So I could just say it stated in the context like that it's not even a question. Mer says no, that argument is not the argument. It's unrelated to what Rav says. Everybody agrees Mekadosh B'Ein Mukadeshes. And as he explained, Meisvei, Oma Liishis Kachli Bipikodon, Sheishli Biotcho. Man says to a woman, I want to marry you with the item which is mine, that is in your possession for safekeeping. So it shouldn't be a problem. He's giving her something which, until he releases it to her, it's not hers, and it's in her possession. She's a shomer. No fun. It's not hers. It's irrelevant. No, makes no difference. Makes no difference. Makes no difference. Okay? And she says, I'm marrying you with that item, which is mine, that's in your possession. She's mukudeshes. However, what happens? She realizes by the time she comes to locate the item that he's marrying with it was either stolen or lost, and it was clear at the time that he says, I'm marrying with the item already did not exist. Right? So in actuality, he didn't give her any. What? No, she went to check on it, and she found Motzoso Shenigna V'Shovat. I'm not getting involved. That's a technicality. We're speaking about she found, so it wasn't there at the time of the marriage. Im nishtayre menu shava pruto. If there was much as a shava pruta of that, pikodin there, mukudeshes. Vim lavein mukudeshes. And if not, she's not mukudeshes. I mean, it seems to be difficult. No. One second. Let's say it was coins. It was coins. And the coin itself was minimally a shava pruta. She's married. Even though we have to make a differentiation. We We said earlier that if a man marries a woman with $100, says, I'm giving you $100 in marriage, counts at 99 coins. And he leaves one coin he doesn't give. So we say it's an argument, because since the woman is, according to one, is too embarrassed to ask for one coin, because she received the 99, so therefore she's not married. Why? Because she's not going to ask for it, and she only agreed to enter in marriage if initially her intent was so she receives the full amount. So over here he says, I'm makadosh you with the pekodin that you have in your possession. And she agrees. Let's say it was 100 coins. She finds out not a dinar is left, a prut is left. So initially she agreed to be married with 100 coins. She comes out, it's less than 100th is left, and yet it says mukudeshes. Why? Why don't we say daita amona? Her mindset was, if there's 100, if it turns out it's not 100, I didn't agree to be married. Where am I stand? I'm asking the question. You want to give me an answer? Give me an answer. Say daita amona. She initially had in mind, he says, I'm marrying you with the pikodon. And she knows what the pikodon is and what the value is. Turns out it's a fraction, a small fraction is left. Nevertheless, it says, if there's a shavat pruta, nobody argues she's mukudeshes. So what about the 100? When I say 100, I give you 99. But there we said, no, it's not. According to one opinion, she's not married. Here, nobody's arguing this. Regarding pikodon, if there's only as little as a cent left, she's married. But originally, she thought, when she agreed to say, I agree to the marriage, she thought it was all intact. The full pikodon was there. See, no. Wait 1 second. You have to make a differentiation. See, Ernie, give me an answer. No, I'm not saying it's not an answer, what you're saying. I'm not saying it's not a good answer. It may be the answer. It may be the answer. It is the answer. But I'm just asking the question. So you have to make a differentiation. Where you say you're going to give me something and you don't come through, that's a different story. Here, why did she agree? He said, I'm marrying with the pikodon. Now it turns out it was stolen, was lost, and only a cent was left behind. Wait. So that's we have to differentiate. What's the difference? So over here, you could say, let's say she's a shama socher. That means it was her. It's her negligence. No, that's what you have to differentiate. If you did not come through for me, so therefore I'm disappointed. You didn't come through. Here he came through. He's willing to give her the full value. So because it's due to her, even, let's say she's a shama chinam. Let's say shama chinam, and it was stolen. There is no liability to her. Nevertheless, if there's a penny, so again, she's not at fault. She didn't have to take the extra. But it's still, it's not that he's lacking in his integrity. He fully wants to marry with the full amount. We find when she's this, what is the base for disappointment? You did not carry through with your word. It's always his issue. Here it has nothing to do with his issue. He's fully backing it all the way. He would give her. He'd give her the full amount. He didn't want to give her the full amount. Turns out it was stolen. So factually, as long as there's a pruta there, she's married. Because she doesn't see it as a failing in him. When she doesn't see it as a failing in him, then she accepts it. Okay? So let's talk about another case. We had a case earlier. A person marries a woman with a bolt of silk. And a woman is not an expert in terms of evaluating what it is to make the appraisal. She thinks it's worth more, and it turns out it's worth less. She says, and the man said, I'm marrying you with this bolt of silk. So because her evaluation is off, and she thought it's more, she's Eina B'Kodeshes. So over there, you can't fault. The man says, look, I'm marrying with this. Did I say less? Give fully, it's yours. But because she thought it was worth more, she only agreed to enter into marriage because of more, not less. Wait, so I understand that. But again, what we're saying now, as long as it's Shavet Pruta, as long as the man is upright and honest, and he keeps his word, the man never said, I'm giving you more than a bolt of silk. No, over there it's any Mukadeshes or it's something Mukadeshes. She's not definitely. Here she's definitely Mukadeshes. So again, you have to make a differentiation. Right? So what's the difference in that case? Right? Therefore what?
So she knows what.
No. So I think there's a difference. I think there's a difference. Again, we're not splitting hairs yet. David, what do you say? What the difference is? Okay, so I was thinking the difference is this. Here, factually, the man wants to give it the full value of the pikotin. And the value is the value. It turns out it's not all there. And he's not faulted. He would give her the full. And she understands what the full value is. Therefore, as long as the Shav Pruta is there, initially, she mistakenly thought it was worth more than it was. And it's worth less. So it's not a question of faulting anyone. She only agreed to enter into marriage if she receives a certain value. It doesn't mean what actually happens. So that's why over there she's Eina B'Kodeshes. That's why Tosas says from there, we don't marry with a precious stone. Because a person may think it's worth more and it's worth less. That's why the custom is we don't marry with diamonds for that reason. That's similar to the bolt of silk. I'm saying even if she's not liable. She's not liable. It's clear from the Gemara on the second side of the page, even if there's no liability. Even no liability. Okay? Well, this is speaking where there's no liability to her.
Let's suppose he's a cheapskate.
No, let's say she's a shomachinam. She's a shomachinam. There's no liability, shomachinam. Unpaid custodian.
Let's suppose he's a cheapskate. And he or she was the one who stole the item. And he left it with a penny.
Well, it says, oh, nevdu. It says it was stolen or lost.
He was the one who did the stealing.
And what about the other case? Or it was lost. It went lost.
I understand.
Well, lost means that you can't blame him for this.
No differentiation in the cases.
In either case, she's married, if there's a penny.
He was the one, he has the money, he has the 99 back in his pocket. He left it with one.
Okay.
They're married.
They're not married. If that's the reality, they're not married.
How would you know that from this?
Because we could say with certainty, if that is revealed to her, there's no way she wouldn't enter into this marriage. You know, they tell her there's a story many years ago that the mechutin, you know, he was going to pay the caterer in cash at his daughter's wedding, and he comes to pay the caterer. He looks in his pocket, the envelope is not there, and he's beside himself. So he gives her all kinds of stories, this and that, and he was upset, and nobody could figure out what happened to the envelope. A few weeks later, you know, the photographer, you know, developed a video, and the clip is being videoed. And he sees his mechutin, putting his hand in his pocket, pulling out the envelope. You understand? So he understood what happened to the envelope with the cash. So you understand? It's the same thing. If she would know, there's no question with what? It is a true story. It is a true story. So you can imagine the relationship they had afterwards, these two families. If he would have known this, and he would have said, my daughter's not marrying this man under any circumstance. That's what kind of family he comes from. Okay? We're speaking, there's no liability. The Shomer has none. Nevertheless, she's married. Okay?
So you would say the general rule, if the deficiency's in him, then it wouldn't be vicious. But if the deficiency's outside of him?
But we showed the bolt of silk. It's not in him. And yet it's still animal kadeshes. It's still animal kadeshes. It's animal kadeshes. So here also, she thought she's getting 100. Turns out there was only a penny. But initially, no. So that's what we're differentiating. Initially, she thought she was getting more, and she's getting less. Here, she was meant to get the pikadon, which was more. Turned out there was only a penny there. So there was no misevaluation of anything. She agreed. There's only a penny. She's agreeable to take a penny. He's not faulted. There, she thought he was giving her more. It's irrelevant. But factually, I only agreed to marry if I'm getting more, and now I'm getting less. Although he's not to be faulted. It's unrelated to that.
Especially with the Bikudim, he gave her something of X value.
Exactly. That's the difference. So that's the case of Bikudim. Ube milveh. What about there was a loan to the woman? Api shel nishtayr himenu shove pruto. Even if the loan was actually, all the money was expended. Mukadeshes. She's married. 1 second. She's Mukadeshes. Well, we'll see in a moment. Wait. So Rashi says, Bahi ano demochel gabo. It's speaking, of course, he says, I'm marrying you with the benefit of waiving the loan. So that's not a problem, right? It's not a problem.
Why do you have to have anything left?
Because we said earlier, nobody would even consider, right? The whole argument before, Bekadosh Milva, Rab says even if the coins are intact, it's still in Mukadeshes. But if everybody agrees, if let's say she spent the money, what is he giving her? He's giving her nothing. No, unless he says, I'm marrying you with the benefit of waiving the loan. No, that's the case. When it says in regard to a milveh, even if the money was fully spent, she's Mukadeshes, or Rashi says because, he says, Bahiano demochel gabo. Right, with the benefit that he's waiving the loan. No, it says that's the case. I feel pishlo nishtayim. We're differentiating between the pikadon. By the pikadon, you have to have a penny left, a cent left. By the loan, all the money was spent. She's mukadeshes. Okay. Wait. Of course, Rav himself says it. Rav says before in Davov, Bekadosh b'hanos mechilas milvim mukadeshes. She is married. No, so far it's no problem. Rav, we have no problem yet with Rav. The Gemara is going to ask the question in a moment. Okay? Reb Shimon Elozis, Ome Mishum Reb Meir. Milveh Harehi Kipikodon. The loan is no different than the item that was given for safekeeping. Meaning, you have to have a Shova Pruta left. Of the original money. Yeah? Of the original money. See, what is he saying? I'm marrying you with the cent left of the money that I originally gave you. So what do we see here? So we see that even if the money's intact, it's considered, it's considered he's giving his money. Not as Rav. Rav says, no, the moment she receives the money is no longer his. And therefore, that's called Mekadosh b'milveh. But here, what is Reb Shimon saying, name Rameir? The milveh is like the Pekadon. Just as the Pekadon, if there's a cent left, he's marrying with his money. If there's one of the coins left of the original loan is intact, he's marrying with his money. Okay? Means you don't need. 1 second. So what do we see here? El de Mar Sovar. So what's the argument? Mar Sovar mil v'avagav lo d'shtarim menush of a pruto. According to the Tanakama, even if there's nothing left. Umar Sovar d'shtarim menush of a pruto. Ain't. If there's a cent less of the original coins, yes. Ilo, d'shtarim menush of a pruto lo. But if there's none of the original coins are there, remain intact, she's not married. Wait. Avadakuli Alma, but everybody agrees. But everybody agrees if the cent would be there, even Rameh agrees. She's married. But according to Rav says that if the coin, even if all the coins are there, the moment he gives her the coins, they're no longer his. And therefore he's giving her nothing. But we see it contrary to this. That even if you have one coin left, according to Rameh, that's considered his coin, and he is giving her something. So this refutes Rav, right? Of course, these are Tanoim. Can't argue. What? I have a little bit of a difficulty here, okay? Not with the question. The question's a good question. According to the Tanakam, he says, regarding milva, even there's not a cent left. Why? Because Rashi says, Mekadosh b'hanos mechilas milva. Right? With the hano, with the benefit that I'm waiving the loan. No, wait. But if that is the case, what does Rameir have to say? You have to have a cent left? Nobody argues that. He's giving us something of value. Right? That's minimally a sheva pruta. What's it worth to you that I should waive the loan? No. The coin, there's a coin left. Look, that's the question on Rav. Rav says if the coins are given, even though the coins are intact, since the coins are no longer his, it's a Mekadosh Milva. Here we see this is not the case. That if there's even 1 cent left of the coin, she's Mekudeshes. See, we see the coin is his. Although most of the coins are no longer here. So definitely, if all the coins are here, definitely it's his.
Why are you saying that it's the coin that's the coin? If he's saying that Hanos Mekhilas Milva, it doesn't matter how many coins are left.
Exactly. So that's my difficulty. So why does Rameir say you have to have a coin left? He said, Hanos Mekhilas Milva, nothing has to be left. That's my difficulty. Okay, we'll see.
Maybe it's implicit. When he says, marry me with the forgiveness of the loan, that he means that the Hanos.
So there's no such thing as Hanos. There's no such thing as Mekadosh Milva and Mekudeshes. If that's the way we're evaluating a person's mindset, he always means that, and she understands that. That's what it means. So it should always be Mekudeshes. So again, how does Rav say Mekadosh Milva and Mekudeshes? If that is the mindset, so it should be Mekudeshes. Right? I'm not addressing that. But the Gemara's question is, we see over here, according to Rameir, that as long as you have any of the coins still there, it's considered he's giving her something. So we don't say Milvalo Tzodnidno. That the moment she has the coins, they're considered hers. Okay? 1 second. So the Gemara says, Avol Kuli Alman Mekadosh Mekudeshes. But we see clearly, but Mekadosh Milver, take a look at Rashi. Second Rashi. She Yeshna Ba'en Mekudeshes. That as long as any of the coins are still in existence, second line, Mekudeshes. But according to Rab, it's irrelevant whether the coins exist or don't exist. If the coins are no longer his coins, how could you be Mekudeshes? He's giving her nothing. Okay? So this seems, he says, so you see, seems this refutes Rav. Oma Rovo, so Rav says, V'tizbaro, Hama Taretzti, Hama Shabeshti. You know, you're trying to refute Rav from a brisa. He says, is it a legitimate brisa? Hama Shabeshti, it's a faulty brisa. It's a corrupted brisa. It's clear if you understand the brisa that it wasn't written properly. You know, it's just a little bit of historical background. You know, originally, there's a shas that was printed, but there was a family called Achim Rum, the Rum family, the brothers Rum. The old Vilna shas, it says in the front page says Achim Rov va'almona, va'almona. The brothers Rum and the widow, their mother was a widow. They printed the Vilna shas. So the Vilna shas, then there was another shas. It was called the Minchen shas. It was printed in Munich. It was an edition that came out of Munich. And it was known, and this already was printed in the 1600s. You understand, if the typesetting is not accurate, that in terms of the text, you could destroy Yiddishkeit, destroy Judaism. which says mutik tzeyosur, and the opinions are not cited properly, it's the end of it. So it was known that you weren't permitted to study from the Munich edition. It was so corrupted. There were so many mistakes in the typesetting where it said one thing, it should have said something else. You weren't permitted to use the Shas. Achim Rom, the Vilna Shas, that was overseen by the Vilna Gaon initially, that it was an accurate recording of the Shas, of Talmud Bavli. Therefore, that was the Shas that was used in Europe. But the Munich Shas was not used because it was a faulty Shas. It was known, there's a commentary on the Rambam that, and this person, the Karoim, the Karaites, which were the ones who were the equivalent of the Tzdukim, they were in Egypt. And they wanted to actually uproot Yiddishkeit. And one of the commentators on the Rambam was the greatest opponent. And so what did they do? He wrote a commentary on the Rambam. They reprinted his commentary, and they printed it where actually with many things which are incorrect. And you read it, say the man is a buffoon. To discredit him. So they intentionally published an edition of his commentary on the Rambam, which clearly said the man has no standing as a Torah sage. And that's how they discredited him. Okay? So Rav is saying you're trying to refute Rav from a brisa. Rav himself wasn't an ordinary person. Rav, the Gemara says he could argue with Tana. Rav has the standing because Rav was the end. His stature was so great. Rav was even able to argue with a Tana if he chose to argue. Normally he doesn't argue with a Tana. But if the Gemara has no answer, the Gemara says Rav Tanu Polik. Rav is the standing of a Tana. He could argue with a Tana if he chooses to do so. But right now we're trying to refute him from a brisa. So Rav says, Hamataretzti. I mean, you're treating the brisa as this is a legitimate brisa. Mishabeshti. And Rav goes to show why the brisa is not being quoted correctly. The way it's recorded, it's not a correct brisa. Hai pikodin hechidomi. Right, it says if you mekadosh pikodin, as long as there's a cent left, she's married. Right? As long as there's shava pruti, she's married. Hai pikodin hechidomi. Ida kobel leachrayis. If she has a shoma, she accepted responsibility. She has liability for it. Haine milveh. So we have a problem. What does the Tanakama say? By Pikodin, you have to have a cent left. Milveh, if nothing's left. Even if nothing's left. But if we're telling me, if it's Kibbutz Achrayus, that means even if nothing's left, so what is there? There's liability. That means she owes him money. So he's Mekadesho with the debt. It's the equivalent of a loan. So why does the Tanakama differentiate between Pikodin and Milveh? Pikodin, you have to have minimally Yeshav Prut and Milveh. Even if there's nothing left, she should be Mekadeshes, because it's no worse than Milveh. They would be identical.
Loans, somebody is assessed to owe somebody, to pay somebody some money, penalty, whatever it is. It's not identical to a loan.
Wait one second.
A loan sometimes has collateral associated with it. You can seize assets.
One second.
These are the kinds of things you cannot do.
One second. Right now, let's analyze what are the words of the Tanakama. If he marries her with a Pikodin, regardless of the original value of the Pikodin, if afterwards it's found that it was stolen or lost, as long as there's minimally a pruta left, she's Mekudeshes. But if it would be a loan, then she's, even if nothing's left of the original coins, you have none of the original coins there, she's Mekudeshes. Right? Those are the words of the Tanakama. Let's say regarding Pikodin, she accepted full liability for the Pikodin that she was given. She comes, she finds out nothing's left. Everything was stolen. Does she have liability? He says, the husband says, you have liability. I'm willing to waive the loan and marry you with the value that you receive from the waiving of that debt that you owe me. No.
Now she owns.
That's what he's saying to her. We're equating with differentiating milvim. It's in the same context.
When did they find out that the Pikodin was missing?
But it will be the same thing.
No, because it didn't say enough. It wasn't a milveh at the time that he made the petition. So So he wouldn't have said,
But-
"Mechilas
What
milva,"
is that with the proof?
But it would be this. It would be the same thing. It would be the same thing. It would be the same thing. He's saying, I have no claim against you. I have no claim against you. That's what he's saying. What he's saying, I'm married with the because means what you initially were meant to return to me, you don't have to return. So even though it's not the item, I have no claim against you. I'm not withholding. We're just discussing Tanakama right now. We're not discussing Reb Shimon Elazar. Tanakama. If in fact we're saying that it's kibbul of achrai, she has full liability. If the item is not there, so what is it? So she becomes a debtor. She's indebted to compensate. She has an obligation of restitution. Doesn't have to be a loan. Doesn't have, but it's a monetary debt.
I understand that. I'm just saying.
Once there's a money, he says, I'm marrying you with the money that you owe me. It's like milveh. We're saying by milveh, even nothing's left.
but only because Hamas Mechilas.
So, I mean, anyway, we have that was a separate discussion. So we have to say, the person's mindset is when a person says that, whatever will make it happen, that's what I want. That's the way I want it to happen. So then you won't differentiate, right? Otherwise, you're right. I mean, you can't compare the two. There, he's aware it's a loan. Therefore, he's marrying her with what? With the value of waiving the loan. Here, he thinks the pekudin is intact, so he's marrying with the item. He doesn't have in mind to waive the loan.
Fundamentally, if this man who has lent her the money, he can go and seize property. He can seize items if she doesn't repay. Is that correct?
Same thing by pekudin.
But by restitution, he cannot seize.
If the man doesn't pay, the court says you could seize, you seize. If it's free assets,
And that's what the court.
well, you can never seize property. You can never seize
I
property.
thought that if a man, if it is a loan and there's no payment, a man can seize property, and if he does seize property, that's it. It's his.
So the same.
But not in the case of there's a penalty.
Only if the
No.
landlord
You're mixing up two cases. We're talking about if to go to liened assets. That differentiation by liened assets. If the asset was sold off to a third party now, could I go after that asset to claim that asset? Only if it was a debt, not if it was a penalty. But if it's a free asset, it's in the possession of the debtor, there's no difference. You owe me, I have a right to take if you're not willing to pay. Because you owe the money. What difference does it make if the reason you owe me because it's a penalty, but factually you owe the money? Doesn't make a difference. You owe, I have a right. The Gemara says that assets only pay the debt. So what does it make if the source of the debt is loan or the source of the debt is because you have a financial liability? Either way, I have a right to take the asset. It's a debt. A debt is a debt.
I thought David was talking about a case where you might have an interest in the condom, where that collateralizes the loan, but the condom is collateralized to the loan. You're entitled.
Now, let's not make complicated. It's a very simple case here. Simple case. See, Reb Kiveger asks something similar to what you're asking. By milveh, the husband knows there's a debt. So what does he have in mind? I'm marrying you with the debt. So we could say, Hanos mechilas milveh. Here, the prospective husband doesn't even know the item is missing. He's marrying with the object. It turns out there's a debt because she accepted liability. But what did he have in mind to marry you with? With the object, with the item. So that's the reason why there's no comparison. Even though it turns out to be the equivalent of a milveh, but they're not comparable to two cases because what's the mindset of the person? Right? The mindset of the person is, I believe the object is intact. Well, it turns out there's liability, but that's not what he had in mind to marry you with. But with the milveh, he knows there's a milveh. I'm marrying you even though the coins are not intact. I'm marrying you with the debt. What does that mean? Hanos mechilas milveh. So therefore, he leaves it unanswered. Reb Kiveger, seemingly they're not comparable, the two cases. You following the difficulty? Okay? But nevertheless, Rav is saying this is not a valid brisa. She says, Idlo kabbalah achrayus. So if it's kabbalah achrayus, if she has a custodian accepted, she has liability, hayna milveh. Idlo kabbalah achrayus. If she has no liability whatsoever, Ihoche at a Tony safe milva pishul nishtayim menu shav pruto. Mukudeshes says We speak about two cases, milve and pikodin. So the question is, what do we have to speak? Let's talk about the same case. Nifl this be the door. Let's talk about the pikodin. When do we say she is married? Right, she's not married, where there's no liability to the woman as a shomer. So there's no debt. If there's no liability whatsoever, then there has to be something left of the pikodin. Because if nothing's left, there's no debt. But if she accepted liability, so then even if nothing's left, it's milveh. So what do we have to talk about in another case? Let's talk about pikodin and differentiate whether she has financial liability, she doesn't have financial liability. From pikodin, let's stick to one case. Why complicate it? And differentiate between two cases. So evidently, see clearly, but if we do establish it in two separate cases, see clearly the brisa wasn't quoted correctly. Wasn't quoted correctly. 1 second. Something came to mind as I was speaking. Elitritzochi. So Rava says, how are we going to interpret the brisa? What was actually initially said? Ubemilveh. Just the opposite. Not mukudeshes. We quote it as milveh. She is mukudeshes. By milveh, even if there's some of the original coins are still there, ein mukudeshes. Why? Because the moment the coins are given to the woman, then they're no longer the prospective husband's coins. So what does he marry with? He's marrying with the debt. And Mukadeshes. But by Pikodin, which is his item, even though initially he said the full Pikodin, turns out only a penny is left. But the penny he's giving her, that's his penny. It's a Shavet Pruta, so therefore it's Mukadeshes. On that, Reb Shimon Lozo, Reb Shimon Meir, Milve Hariki Pikodin. The Milve is the equivalent of Pikodin. We'll see in a moment. He holds, they're arguing, Milve Hariki Pikodin, B'mai Kibifli. So what is the argument? I mean, how we understand it? Seemingly, the moment you take the coin is yours. So evidently, what's Rameir saying? It's not yours. So Rameir is saying, "Mamaika bifli." Omar Rabo, Rameir and Tanakama. Tanakama, we say that by milveh, even if some of the coins are there, she's enib godeshes. Why does milveh tzonit? That's perfect, Rav. But we see Rav is stating as if there's no argument, right? Evidently, we see it is an argument. In the name of Rameir. I say, but Rav is stated. It seems to be Rav's position seems to be unanimous. That was originally says. How could you say it this way? You see, it's an argument among the Tanoim. It's not so simple. Your position. So the Gemara is going to explain it that Rav is in one case. Even this Machlokes Tanoim is not Rav's case. Rav's case, everybody will agree. It's Einam Kodeshes. Omer Rav Ashkenil Rabona B'Vei Rav. Rabbi says he came upon his colleagues, other Chachomim, in the Bei Rav. What does Bei Rav mean? Normally Bei Rav means in the Beis Measure Rav. So Rashi says Bei Rav doesn't mean the Beis Measure Rav. A Beis Measure where people study Torah, that's called Bei Rav. Right? Like the Gemara says, the Gemara says in Chagiga, Bei Bar Rav Chad Yoma. There was a person who used to study 1 day a year. Yeah? He would travel in one direction, take him 6 months, he'd come to the location, study, listen to the shir, then travel back. So he would only study one. So he used to refer to this person, Bei Rav the Chad Yoma. He's a person spent 1 day a year in the Beis Medrash studying. So what does Bei Rav mean? It's not he attended Rav's Beis Medrash. It means Beis Medrash. So Rashi says here, Bei Rav doesn't mean the Beis Medrash Rav, but it means a location where they study Torah. That's called Bei Rav. It's like the location of the Rav. Rav means like of the rabbi. To be continued.